1 o'clock, good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The breaking news of the day in the NFL, the New York Jets are acquiring Raiders wide receiver Davante Adams in a trade. According to Adam Schefter, the deal is for a conditional third-round pick that could become a second. It reunites Adams with Aaron Rodgers, his quarterback, in Green Bay. The Jets make the move just the morning after falling to the Buffalo Bills 23-20 on Monday Night Football. Of course, the Bills, the Titans' next opponent next Sunday at Highmark Stadium. Buffalo rose to the top of the AFC East with that win. The Jets fall to 2-4. Tonight, the Nashville Predators are in action at Bridgestone Arena hosting the Seattle Kraken, looking for their first win of the season in the third game of the campaign. Puck drop at 7 p.m. at Bridgestone. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Zach, 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. We'll be joined by Coach Mack, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford for his weekly Mack Attack at the 2 o'clock hour. And, of course, the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. If you want to get in and talk and ask us some questions there. And, Blaine, we didn't get around to really talking about the University of Tennessee football. They played the Florida Gators, a win in overtime. They were actually able to put them away in overtime due to some defensive stops. James Pierce looked pretty good, I'd have to say. We've been waiting on a James Pierce game, and here it is. I think this would be considered a James Pierce game, a look into what could be a first-round top 10 draft pick. They still got a ways to go. But watching that game, I just couldn't help myself but see the similarities between the Tennessee Volunteers and the Tennessee Titans on offense. And really on defense too, right? When you really start thinking about it, I mean, you got a team that's being carried by a run game and a great defense in the University of Tennessee. Maybe in the Arkansas game, they didn't get the stops that they wanted to get. And then you have the same thing with the Tennessee Titans. But it also feels like the play calling, as the kids would say, is a little suspect.
A little suspect.
And it feels like there's a lack of trust. Maybe it's not the right word, but feels like there's a lack of something, maybe hesitation between both Brian Callahan and Josh Heupel in letting it rip. And that's kind of like the theme for the episode is let it rip. Like, I think that you just have to, I think for Nico, you should feel a lot more comfortable about letting him rip, even though there's offensive line issues. You should feel that more comfortable with him throwing the ball than maybe Will Levis, because Nico hasn't really given you a reason to hesitate.
Yeah, not to this point. He's had some opportunities to rise. You wish he could have. I'm going to say this, though. They've had opportunities to let him rip. He missed them.
Yeah, that's true.
He missed two of them, and then you wonder, okay, we were all talking about Milton last year throwing, but he was doing it so consistently. But it was his third year in the system.
Well, Joe Milton was 2023 Will Levis. He was just throwing on a prayer.
Well, I mean, you didn't know where it was going to land. Sometimes it landed in the right spot, sometimes
There's a little bit more similarities than I initially thought.
Yeah, so that was a little surprising. So I'm interested to see if he can settle down. I don't know if they are really saying being conservative because of him. I think, he just hasn't risen, and maybe he's not getting the play from not only his tackles, as you brought out, but also the receivers, too. So, and it could be also a combination of how defenses are approaching him. I think, I know a lot of people are saying that that's not the case, but, we can't see the all 22. But it seems like players aren't open. So why hasn't he let it go? I don't think he has a fear factor that's holding him back. I really believe he's confident in his abilities. He may just now start, questioning a little bit, of what's going on here. The game is moving fast and guys aren't open like I expected to. And, he's in college, though. So there are going to be some growing pains, and you expect that. They haven't been as bad, and nothing to push the panic button. But as everybody knows, when you get the big dough and you're the big prize recruit and 5-star, you're expecting instant success.
Yeah.
And that's not reality. It's supposed to be something that's built up on. And I thought probably at this point he would be a little bit better. I have to admit that.
I was about to say, do you think the learning curve is a lot slower than you expected? But you just answered that because it feels like, Will Levis, we're just waiting for any spark to show of improvement. And I feel like with Nico, like maybe because he is I guess he was a redshirt freshman last year, and this year he's still a freshman.
His first year starting.
Yeah.
His first year starting, so all things look like, promising when he got in a little bit of play last year, let alone in the bowl game. That's when he, started from beginning to end. So, you kind of give him somewhat of a pass, but this team, the way it's built, you thought besides, defense doing really well, and now...
And I would say surprisingly well for the University of Tennessee, because I know I had a lot of questions about their secondary. And I think for the most part, they've way exceeded my expectations, too.
Yeah, I think everybody's thought their front 8 or whatever, how many other guys they have in the rotation was going to be well. And that always helps the secondary. But they made some transfer portal moves and signed some guys and really coached them up. They're probably still a little weak at safety. Is probably the only thing I could really see as far as just kind of elite level. If I was looking at, okay, how would be my plan of attack, I would like to test them deep in the center of the field. Other than that, you're gonna, you play cornerback, you're gonna get beat sometimes, and then you're gonna make some plays, and they got some guys that are making plays too. So I'm pretty comfortable. Even with Peely going out, even at the linebacker spot. So I think they've done a good job. Now, they can't afford a lot more injuries there at the linebacker spot. But so I think they've done pretty well considering. So, the only thing is offensive tackles. Both of them, to me, are concerning. I'm not real big on for excuses for guys. These guys are supposed to be playing better. I mean, there's no way. They're doing lunging. They're not even being patient. They're attacking when they're supposed to be setting. And then they're getting holding penalties. They keep shooting themselves in the foot on the offense, and they can't afford that at this point in time. And they haven't decided on who's big playmakers. We got McCoy, who's, injured with the hand. So he's kind of, not the same player because you don't know how much he can, do, at least last game. And so do you say to yourself, if you're Tennessee, am I better off playing some of these young guys, let them develop in game and deal with their mistakes, or the injury-riddled receivers who then aren't going to perform at the level we need them to, but maybe a game off would help them then come back to be at the level they need to be to help Nico at the same time and their offense. Because we're used to, I'm Tennessee fans, they're used to them scoring, and it's not happening. And so everybody's going to look to the hypo, the coaching staff, offensive coordinator, and then the quarterback.
I know a lot of people
with ease. I mean, pretty much.
I know you mentioned it when we were talking to Ryan Callahan last week, and I think he mentioned it as well. I saw it all over Twitter on Saturday night. Where is Mike Matthews? Mm-hmm. And this seems like why are we going to Nimrod? And that's not a slight. That's his actual last name. I just want everybody to know I'm not calling someone a Nimrod. But why are we going to Chaz Nimrod instead of going to Mike Matthews? Where is Mike Matthews in these situations?
Big 5-star guy.
And ultimately that comes down to, it's kind of like how we were screaming about where's NWI over, Traylon Burks, right? I mean, like it's very similar to this situation.
Man.
And I am beginning to wonder, when are we going to see some Jaquan Jackson on some gadget plays or something to utilize his speed or his deep speed as well? But that's beside the point. But I did see that a lot from the Tennessee Volunteers fan base. Where is Mike Matthews? Where is Mike Matthews?
So, I think he was injured, but I don't know what the extent of the injury is and how bad it is, and should he be back? I don't know.
Well, I would expect the University of Tennessee fans to know more than me.
He played a little bit in the Arkansas game. I think he did 15 snaps, a little bit there, so he's healthy enough to play then, I'm sure, last game. And this coaching staff, whether it's Hypo or whoever else, but I would say he's the top, right? They have a history of not playing young players and rotating them in at wide receiver. And that's been probably the only thing I probably have been pushing more than anything else. Other than, you got to coach guys up. And one of them was, he said, because of the speed up. I get you, okay. But when you slow down, then put them in there and at least let them get some series. Then you can then go to the film and coach them up. Right. Or if they make a mistake, there'll be your reason why they're not playing more. and that they need to improve. You're also coaching without coaching. So then now they're not a threat to enter the portal because now these guys are all set in. You come to the school, you're getting paid this money. I'm not playing all these promises, and boop, I'm out. Their patience level is low. So I think you need to tease them a little bit and let them get a little bit of experience. What's the series?
We got some breaking news real quick.
NFL?
Yes.
Well, and by the way, Devontae Adams was traded, right?
Devontae Adams was traded, but another wide receiver just got traded. So if you have some fantasy stock in Amari Cooper, he just got traded to the Buffalo Bills. So you'll be seeing Amani Cooper this week, along with Matt Collins, Khalil Shakur, Dalton Kincaid, and Dawson Knox when you go up to Buffalo, when you're the Tennessee Titans. So just some information right there that Amari Cooper has been traded to the Buffalo Bills. And Buffalo Bills just won. It's funny, the New York Jets, who played last night, trade for Devontae Adams. The Bills, in direct response, who played last night and won, trade for Amari Cooper. So draft compensation hasn't been announced by the time I just looked at my phone. So when I get that later, I'll let you guys know. But that's going to be a new wrinkle for this Tennessee Titans defense. This is going to be the best offense they've faced so far this year, with Amari Cooper, Khalil Shakur, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, Matt Collins. I mean, Keon Coleman is still there, even though, you can kind of leave him out of it.
But he's a
young guy.
He's a second rounder, right?
Yeah, for them, he was a second rounder.
You're not a fan of him, huh?
No, I wasn't a fan coming out. Yeah.
Well, he was Michigan State, then Florida State, right?
You're right.
What do you not like about him?
Well, I didn't like him because I felt like for a guy his size and his athleticism, he didn't have that fight in him. That contested catch rate was really bad. But when you watch it, like he has like one or two, but it didn't show up consistently on tape enough for me. And I think that's one of the few data points. It's really hard to find data points that actually coincide with success at the next level. I think contested catch rate has one of the higher hit rates on that. And when you're at the bottom, even below guys like Jamari Thrash, who is half his size, that's a big deal in my opinion. So, that was one of the things. Now, he has all the talent in the world, so that's something you can develop, but it's a developmental kind of thing, not a lot of people thought he was a first-round draft pick. I pushed back on that, but that's something about Keon Coleman that I just personally didn't like. And it was funny because Steve Smith was talking about the same thing about Keon Coleman, and I'm just like, okay, if I get at least one expert that sees what I'm seeing, I feel like I'm right. And that's just kind of how I felt.
He actually did in the game I watched the Bills earlier this season. They threw a fade to him as a contested catch, and then the guy, he should have caught it. I thought he should have secured it and everything. One thing, this is what I love, and this is what you have to do to a young player who has talent in this league and has been taken that high. The next drive, now they went, I guess they kept moving the ball, then they had to punt or whatever, kick a field goal, I can't remember. Next drive, comes back and throws the same ball to him, and he makes the catch.
Yep.
See, and that's what you had to do to reinforce confidence, because you got to believe that he can make the catch. I ain't say go right to him, but the next series, they came back and then had to do it again, after some plays, and then he makes the catch. Yeah. And then in your mind, you're going, he should have made the first catch. See? So, but he is capable.
Right.
So now we need to get him to be consistent.
Yeah.
We must not think he's going to be Diggs right off the bat.
Yeah,
That's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Especially in a league where you're coming from in the ACC, and I know we're pushing up against break, but coming up in the ACC where you're probably one of the bigger, faster players on the field of any position. Well, in the NFL, everybody's big and fast, so that's another big thing. That's why contested catches are so big. When we come back, we'll talk more about University of Tennessee, but Tennessee Titans and their similarities and letting it rip. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Did you know Eurofix has a very different business philosophy? They staff all their locations with more staff than the average auto repair shop, just so they can be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. So have you ever noticed how hard it is to get a right now appointment for a vehicle repair? Well, some dealers can be more than 2 weeks out just to get a freaking appointment. but not Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without the dealer pricing since 1999. Plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car right now. So if you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, then call Eurofix. Owner Aaron Stokes says we will never be too busy for our customers. We're here to take their pain away, and I mean right now. So Eurofix repairs all European cars, and Eurofix says yes to speedy repair when others can't or won't. Family owned for 24 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. But always done Blaine, you.
Blaine and Zach here on 104.5 The Zone. 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045. If you want to get in on the conversation, we're talking Tennessee Titans, Tennessee Volunteers, and their similarities. And, you know, it's interesting because of the defenses that these two teams are fielding. They are ultra aggressive, I feel like. The energy is there on defense. It's very interesting just to see that. Like, I find it so weird that the juxtaposition, like, bad offensive line, hesitant quarterback, receivers that may or may not be getting open every play, You know, all this, the high expectations that were on Nico and him not living up to those high expectations currently, high expectations on Will Levis and him not. It's just very interesting.
Eerie,
like that's
right
one
there.
of those.
That's eerie.
It's eerie, right?
Yeah,
like it's one of those
ooh.
interesting things.
Something in the air in Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean that's why I was tweeting out. So like Lance Hurd got beat for a stunt on one of the plays, and you know Nico got sacked. And I said there must be a law, a state law against teaching offensive linemen how to pick up stunts.
Stop this. Hey, man, it's easier to, it's harder than we think, man. It's not that easy.
And
it's
obviously,
funny.
Nico's story is way from being unwritten, but the story on Levis is we're on like chapter 25 of a 30 chapter book right now.
Yeah. We're talking about ET and TE stunts. It was funny in the Titans game. I don't forgot what part of the game it was. They did the ET and TE stunts on both sides of the defense did against the Titans offensive line. One side handled it perfectly. The other side didn't. It was like, oh, man, for whatever reason. So I was just like, gosh.
And I think there needs to be a serious conversation about
hard.
these tight ends at some point on our show. I think Josh Wiley has been horrific in the blocking game. If you go back and watch, he's missing some blocks. And I think that's why you're not seeing a lot of 12 personnel like I thought there would be. And that's because I don't think they could trust Wiley and or Chig. Chig's been better than Wiley, but there's a tight end issue in Tennessee that we'll have to discuss on another show.
Well, complete tight end.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened. Wiley.
That tight end room, I would say.
Well, Wiley, his first game he went against Myles Garrett, he was horrific. He acted like he was scared, like he didn't belong. And as the season went along, he got better with the blocking.
Yeah.
I could see the improvements there. But there's also blocking is all about a want to. I don't care if you are a great blocker or not. Put your body in between his body and the dang on freaking runner. I'm sorry. That's a want to.
Yep.
Now, that's not to say you're going to win all the time, but I got to see some form of effort and fight. Well, that's what I see with Chig, even though he's not a great blocker.
Yeah.
He's trying, and he's like, crap, because he got beat on the block. They kind of threw him, but he was trying to put his body in and hit butt up with him, and the guy just, slid him or moved him, and then he missed, and the guy kind of got part of the tackle. So I saw the 1-2. You can work on that. You can say, hey, move. Wiley, nah. He's got to show some dog. Like, I got to get this dude.
Well, I think that's the biggest difference between Leroy Watson and NPF, and also the big issue with Lance Hurd and the right tackle, his name escapes me.
John Campbell.
John Campbell. It feels like there's not a lot of dog in Lance Hurd right now, specifically in Lance Hurd, because it feels like he's just playing patty cake out there, and there seems to be an energy issue, strength issue. I don't know what it is, but I look at what Leroy Watson did. Listen, I think Brian Callahan said it perfectly. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It was just kind of middle of the road. But when you watch the tape,
in his career.
Yeah, first start in his career. When you watch the tape,
penalties.
he had the fight in him. He says, listen, you may beat me, but you may be walking away with some bruises.
Yeah.
And I think that's really
you can
important.
live with that.
You can. And that's something that I think has been lacking from NPF. We've talked about it on the show. No dog. Right? And listen, Leroy Watson is not the long-term solution for the right tackle position, but he is the 2024 solution. Let me rephrase that. He is currently your best option in-house for the 2024 season. And he earned it, and I don't think they should play around, mess with it. Don't use him as like a motivator for NPF.
No.
This is the best your offensive line has played. This is the first time you can say that a Tennessee Titans offensive line hasn't allowed a sack since October 18th, 2021. 1.
Oh, wow.
So it's been that long without a game where there has not been a sack allowed. And now listen, there's a caveat. There's an asterisk, right?
Okay.
It's Colts defensive line. Didn't have DeForest Buckner. Didn't have Tyquan Lewis, but did have Kwity Paye. You can only play who's in front of you. But they put up a heck of a game, and that's a foundation-building game. When you have when Leroy Watson is still your worst issue, and really he wasn't that bad outside of the penalties, that says a lot about the other 4 players, right? And we've said that the majority of your offensive line has to look good in a game. To me, this is like a foundation builder. Don't mess with the foundation.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree with that. And with Watson, it's kind of like when you got a first-time player, even though he's been in the league on the practice squad, you say, I can build on this.
Yes.
And he may improve, and ultimately, he may be the solution. We don't know.
Yeah.
But because you got to think he's going to improve.
Right.
He may not go way up like J.C. Latham because of just the whole talent level, but he may improve enough where you say, I don't know if the sense of urgency to go get another player at the end of the season.
But to be fair, that's what got him in this mess to begin with about NPF. So
but see, that's them.
Yeah.
I never liked NPF.
Oh, I'm with you. But that is I don't want false hope or kid yourself situation. Unless he puts unless it's visible to us, I feel like let's not roll with it. But I'm with you.
You can't kid yourself on PFF grades as well as the eyeball test.
Yeah.
And I think they lost all sorts of that. He was horrible the year before he got suspended in PF.
Yeah.
And then when he came back, he was horrific. Then he got injured. So that was 2 years of horrible. I mean, and what got overshadowed was Dillard was worse. That's what happened. But you go to the other side, you're like, he's not doing so good either. Yeah, so I don't know if that will happen. I'm just hoping he can continue to improve, because here's how I look at it. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
That's how I look at Watson. In his rookie first start.
And a converted tight end, by the way.
Right, who's athletic.
Yeah.
We talk about his feet and everything else. I said, okay. Well, it was in the middle. But we can continue to improve, and with some experience and confidence.
Yeah.
People don't understand, as an athlete, the confidence level grows from start to start when you're a young player. Especially if you say, I'm getting reinforcement from not only my teammates, but my coach. And then your confidence just keeps rising. Even when you do make a mistake, it's not wearing on you in the game and then afterwards.
Right.
So those are the things you got to look at as we move forward. Does he continue to just be okay, or does you say, dang, man, he did a good job? Man, that was pretty good.
I knew that he was going to have a good game, by the way, when he came in through the tunnel dressed in his cowboy outfit.
You saw that he had a cowboy hat on.
That is it. He had the vest, the cowboy hat. He had everything. I was like, he's having a good game today.
Yeah.
Now,
Worst
it wasn't a great game,
backup.
but it was a good game.
Worst case scenario, he's a backup.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with having depth. And right now, because Leroy Watson is your best right tackle. Not Jalen Duncan, not NPF, not anybody else who may be on the roster that I may be mistaken. Because now you don't have to move Radens. And I know that was a big thing. We got that question all the time.
Radens looking good.
Why don't they move Radens to right tackle and Brunskill to right guard?
He did well.
And he did well. Yeah, and he did well last year. This is the best case scenario for the Tennessee Titans right now, outside of doing something ridiculous and trading for a right tackle or signing a guy like Chris Hubbard, like we have talked about before. But really, Leroy Watson gave you a good enough game to at least I'll press pause on the Chris Hubbard train to sign him.
Yeah.
And again, Bill Callahan has experience with all of them. And he just called up from their practice squad and signed that guy to their 53 instead of going out to someone else's practice squad.
What about OJ?
Oh, yeah. Ojukwu Mania, rest in peace.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Speaking of trades, though, I wanted to ask you this since it's on my mind.
Okay.
Should the Titans be in the trade market?
Well, I was going to wait to have that topic later this week, but I will say no, they should not trade for anybody. But
should they be in the trade market?
They should be considering selling. And I think there's 3 players that you could sell that will hurt the fan base's feelings, but they'll get you the most bang for your buck probably, and they'll help save cap space for next year. We can make more aggressive moves as well. before I get to the phone, there's a question in the F&M Bank chat on YouTube from Jason Brown. And what's your thoughts on the progression of Peter Skoronski? And the reason I want to ask you this real quick, Blaine, because yesterday you had a guest in the studio. In a couple of weeks, we had a phone call. He was on a guest via phone. Mm-hmm. But they both have talked about Peter Skoronski. But the guy, your friend yesterday, I wanted you to talk about him, what he's up to, and about what he said about Peter Skoronski.
Yeah. Jared Thomas, he went to high school. Naturally, we were there at different times, but he played with Skoronski. Well, he actually helped Skoronski get recruited to Northwestern. He started center there for 4 years. So right when he graduated, I think in 2020 is when Skoronski got there, and he said they knew he was going to start. And they knew he was going to be a potential guard in the NFL, especially after his career got started because of foot quickness and things of that nature. But he was a technician, solid guy all the way around, really sharp, smart, coachable, and was tough as nails. So, yeah, he wasn't surprised at all. He's now, broadcasting at the Big Ten Network. So he's kind of a substitute teacher on the Big Ten Network. So this guy's super smart, bright. Went to Cathedral High School. So, yeah, that's kind of where I went.
Yeah.
So I feel pretty
He also said he spent time. It was going to take time for him to get acclimated to the guard position.
He did.
And then on top of that, you had the appendicitis, which we know had him lose a lot of weight. Now, it's been a little bit of a rocky start, but I would say that Peter Skoronski, based on what I watched, was your best offensive lineman on Sunday. And now, listen, it's not to say that everybody else sucked, because I thought J.C. Latham looked great. In the run game specifically, I thought Lloyd Cushenberry looked a whole lot better. He started trending upwards, and Dylan Radins got highlighted by Duke Manyweather for what he was able to do in the game, the creator and founder of O-Line Mastermind. So 4 of those guys really had a good game, and those are the 4 guys you can handle one spot.
Especially if it's on the outside.
Especially if it's on the outside. The problem with the Tennessee Titans is that if NPF wasn't having a good game, there were 2 other players not having a good game. Now 4 players, but I think that with to answer this guy's question, what are your thoughts on the progression of Peter Skoronski? I like what I saw last week. I've liked a few games of his. Now let's be consistent. And that's something this offensive line, much like a lot of this offense has had, is they can't follow up a good performance with a good performance. I'm not asking to go from good to great, just good to good, at least right now.
Yeah, consistency. Now, was that performance based off of your opponent?
Right. So that's something that we have to find out, because the Bills are going to attack you a little bit differently. They have a little bit better players on certain areas, so you're going to have to watch out for that. So this will be a very different test for this offensive line. Can they answer the call? And they have a full week now. If they're not going to play games and do the split first team reps with NPF and Leroy Watson, they have a full week to put Leroy Watson and build on this foundation. So it's all about taking the good and building on that good. And I'm fingers crossed is all I'm saying. I'm not predicting anything. I'm just saying fingers crossed.
No, I would predict that at least they'll play as one. That doesn't mean you're going to play great as individuals. And I believe that Leroy Watson was getting the majority of the snaps, if not all the snaps during the bye week, because for him to even be in that situation, to look how he looked, whether you liked it or not, he felt like he belonged. And that's another part of it. He felt like he belonged. And to your point, with the way he walked into the stadium with the confidence cowboy hat and the vest, like, I've been waiting all my life.
He looked good. He pulled it off.
Yeah, he
pulled it off.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, all right, let's see what you got. Now you going to back it up? And he pretty much backed up. Now, I wasn't cool with the false start. He even got pissed at one of them. He went over and talked to the referee. It's like, hey, man, because I saw him flinch, but I didn't think they were going to call it because somebody else moved. The receiver moved too.
It was funny because it
was like,
when he did it, we were actually laughing about when he did it. You then saw him twitch, and then you just saw him just stand so still. Right. He's like, please don't see it. Please, I hope you didn't see it. I know exactly the play you're talking about.
Yeah, I've been there. You've been there, done that. So you always try to do that. So hopefully they can build on this. And then, naturally, then we will then see Mr. Levis and then the receivers hopefully all get on the same page. Yeah. But I don't think you believe that.
I think they could. I mean, I don't know about I think the offensive line could definitely get on the same page. Yeah. I think that I feel like the receivers are all on the same page, and that's a question I have for you I'll ask you a little bit later. But it's going to be all about Levis trusting that the offensive line is all on the same page. And I think, again, the big theme for me seems to be, I guess I keep coming back to trust. Trust what you see, Trust the guys in front of you. Trust that your playmakers can make the plays. Trust in your quarterback just to let him throw the ball. You don't have to throw the ball 40 times if you don't want, but maybe in the early games you are a little bit more aggressive on a 2nd and short instead of running it again. So certain situations, I do think there's like an element of trust or confidence, maybe is a better word, that this team still got to try to find, and that's just going to be something. It's going to be like a treasure hunt. It seems like right now.
So to me, this tells you your parenting styles. That's Callahan.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, are you going to let the bird fly?
Yeah.
And let him make his mistakes along the way? Or are you
too afraid he's Icarus and he's going to get too close to the sun and burn?
Or are you going to hover and keep trying
Helicopter
to manage?
parent.
Yeah, Are you going to try to manage it? Let him fly. Let him make his mistakes. And then come back and see if he'll keep making his mistakes when you keep letting him fly. Because then he'll start flourishing if he doesn't keep making the same mistake. If he keeps making the same mistakes, then there's always repercussions. And to me, you then handicapped him and the offense and the receivers and the team. So at some point, he must let it fly. Because I thought the lateral passes were just too conservative for me. The game plan in itself. It was the game plan in general. You can blame it on him not trusting the quarterback, or was it his formula of how he thought they could win this game? And that was just being super conservative. So that means you didn't want him to make a mistake. There's going to be mistakes made in the National Football League every game. You got to let a player step out. We are not first and foremost going to play scared.
Yeah.
That you cannot do that. And
I
once
feel
you do
like
that,
that's kind
you
of
lose the team because they know when the call comes in, they know what's supposed to be called in certain situations. They go, well, dang, why are we doing that? That ain't.
And I feel like there's instances that we've seen, whether it's, scared of the run game because you scared of calling the run game because you're behind in the Green Bay game. Calling
that
all
happened this last game.
And calling all these run plays. And because you're scared of Will Levis, then being scared of something different, like you just alluded to in the second half, where you got the ball back after you punted on that 4th and 1. You got the ball back and you were in opportunities to run, and you decided not to, and then you're going out and giving the ball back quickly to the other team. So there's these. I feel like he's just going through the growing pains of figuring, and I think it's really all centers around what you can do with Levis, and I think. I don't know if they have the answer, or Callahan does have the answer and he's just not really letting everybody know. But I
don't think he has the answer.
I think the play calling does need to get fine-tuned regardless of who is at quarterback. Like you're just going to you have said it for weeks. Call the plays that you want to call the play, and you got to live and die by Will Levis. When we come back, we'll talk to Robert, who's in Dixon, who's been waiting patiently about the offensive line and tight ends. I'm Zach, he's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years, and they are the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physician for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. They have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports and medicine and performance, physical therapy, and nutrition. Personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. So please check out their services at TOA.com. Yes, that's TOA.com.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard, Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Blaine and Zach here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. And as promised, we're going to go to Robert and Dixon, who wants to talk about the O-line and tight end problem. Robert, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, guys. Love the show. I listen to you every day. So I was out driving around this afternoon, and I heard you talking about a potential ban on offensive lines in the state of Tennessee being able to pick up stunts. And then you guys were talking about the similarities between the Titans and the Vols at quarterback and the tight end issues and all this stuff. And I just wanted to take a second and remind you that it's not a statewide issue. On West End, those boys are picking up every stunt, twist, bull rush. Doesn't matter. They're picking it up. Tight end, Eli Stowers is an absolute stud. He can throw the ball, he can run the ball, he blocks, all that. And at quarterback, they're doing just fine, better than fine. Top 5 in a lot of people's Heisman projections right now with Diego Pavia. So, no, it's not a statewide issue. It's an overhype issue. Because when you look at these two teams, the Titans, there were a lot of unrealistic projections put on what they could be, and everybody shouted down the national media not paying attention to the Titans. Well, at the end of the day, they were more right than wrong.
Yeah, they were.
And then you go to East Tennessee and you look at Knoxville, and ever since that Hendon Hooker-led team in 2022, all we've heard is this is a future playoff team. Nico's going to come in, and he's going to change the game, and this is going to be a playoff team. Well, the reality is that's not the case. And I've called in before. It's been several months ago. But my message for Vols fans, and I know they got their natty in baseball earlier this year, but when it comes to football, win the games that matter. Go win an SEC title. Get in the playoffs and win a couple of games. Go play for a national title before you start putting all this hype on it. And the same thing applies to the Titans. Stop hyping up Will Levis or the defense or the offensive line or the receivers or whatever. Let's calm down. Let's get in the playoffs and win a couple games again. Both of those teams were super overhyped. And if you really want to watch good football, watch Vandy on Saturdays.
I like it. Listen, I like a spicy.
That's only because they're playing Ball State.
I like a spicy Vandy fan. I think that's fun. I'm gonna let Reed handle that question. Reed, did you guys overhype? Because I kind of agree. I think you guys did overhype everything for this year. But I mean, what do you think about spicy Vandy fans coming out of the woodworks to attack your team?
Pavia is not top 5 in Heisman. When you lose to Georgia State, your quarterback is not top 5 in the Heisman voting, or will not be. Yes, they were. Now, after watching him, they were a little overhyped. But this team still has a chance to be playoff contenders. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, they have a chance. Yeah.
I'm
not going to say no, it's not possible, but I mean, it's going to be a tough road.
If they win Saturday and their only loss is to Georgia, they're a playoff team, correct?
Yeah, I would think so. If your extremely limited hypothetical actually comes to fruition that University of Tennessee is able to beat Alabama, then maybe.
So what is your prediction? So you think Bama going to come down here in Knoxville?
No, Lucas asked me, how you feeling about the game, when we're switching out the studio and stuff, and I go, I'll probably feel really good Saturday morning. But right now, I'm just talking some crap right now. I have my concerns with Alabama, and they're almost similar concerns to that you have with the University of Tennessee, I would assume. But it'll be interesting to see. It's me and Ron Slay were talking yesterday, passing through, and it was like it's gonna probably come down to like one drive, like which defense is gonna stop the offense at the right time, because that's what eventually I think is what's gonna happen. But we'll see. Listen. Tennessee fans are so nervous about this game, Blaine, that
Alabama fans aren't nervous?
Well, not to this extent. That they created an AI video of Kalen DeBoer saying that Tennessee is not that loud and those fans don't really show up and all that kind of stuff to try to pump up their own fan base. Like, if you have to create a fake AI video, where's the confidence in that? Like, that's kind of ridiculous by Tennessee fans. Reed, your thoughts.
That is more of a joke.
Yeah, sure.
You don't need to hype this fan base up.
Then why do you need the video? I
Because
wonder.
it's a joke, Zach.
Oh yeah, I don't know. It seems like a very weird joke to try to play. Seems like a motivational tool, in my opinion. And we'll see. Well, I will say this: last time that Alabama showed up at over in Knoxville, you could tell that the crowd noise did affect that Alabama team, and that was a Nick Saban Alabama team. So I'm very interested to see how a Kalen DeBoer Alabama team, when not a lot of holdovers.
Yeah.
Yeah. When not a lot of there's not a lot of holdovers from that team. I'm very interested to see how they handle the stadium noise. Like, I think that is going to be. It'll be interesting. It'll be
How
very.
was the noise the Florida game?
Oh man,
there's on TV. It felt like it was pretty
okay.
loud.
So
It
go
was bad.
Go to
Not bad. It was good. But it was
Bad
it was very yes.
There's a video on Twitter, right? There's a video on Twitter where the guy's holding his camera still, but the it's shaking. Like, everything is vibrating. Even the players are vibrating on the field. Like, that's how loud it was. So it gets loud. It gets loud. There's no mistake about it. They got. I'm not big on Madden rankings and ratings and all that kind of stuff, but when College Football 25 came out, what were you guys ranked
With the noise?
with the noise?
It wasn't even top 10.
Were y'all even on the list?
I think we were on the list.
16 maybe?
Yeah, but we weren't even top 10, I believe.
Yeah.
I'll look
Where's
for it.
Alabama?
Alabama was actually ranked higher, which I listen. I've been to an Alabama game and they get loud, but I can go ahead and tell you it's nowhere near as loud as what you get in Knoxville.
Yeah.
So I thought that was ridiculous ranking by the college football people. So either way, it was just fun. It's just it's good for this station to have an Alabama fan, because it's just fun ribbing back and forth. At basketball season, Alabama's ranked, number one, and
They ranked number one?
they were ranked number one.
So man, dang.
Even though I'm more, it's hard for me to root in basketball for Alabama because I'm Memphis basketball. I just love Memphis. You know what I'm saying? I got a special place in my heart for Memphis, but it's just going to be fun. You guys needed a Alabama fan to, at least, if you guys win, just think of this content on radio you guys will have if you guys win, and I'm having to sit here and listen to it.
Yeah, but it's only one of you, though. That's not fun.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Because then he's like, oh, man, we don't want to just bombard you with all your losses.
yeah.
You're
I'm just
right.
here to bring the overall intelligence discourse up as an Alabama fan. Okay, 615-737-1045 if you guys want to talk Tennessee Titans. We'll have Coach Mack coming up next hour. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone. Hour number 2 here on Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 if you want to join in on the conversation. Of course, to F&M Bank Chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. And Blaine, we've kind of been talking about like the psychology and of players, the where's the headspace at and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Last week's press conferences, the theme from Brian Callahan was, this is the season that we're finding out what he is from Will Levis, what Will Levis is. It's all about Will Levis. And then the tone kind of shifted yesterday where it's like, it's all about winning. And I'm not saying that you can't win with Will Levis, but that is a real fine tightrope to be walking. You've always been 8 to 10 weeks. Then you kind of figure out, what you do with Will Levis, whether he goes on the bench and all this kind of stuff. How do you balance that as a coach in messaging to players? Like, I'm assuming that not necessarily, and I don't want you to get me wrong because I know we talked about this. I'm not talking about like, Will Levis is our guy or anything, but, keep them motivated, inspired, and bought in. When you say you're all about winning, but then you have a quarterback that really makes it hard to win, I guess. Does that make sense? Am I asking that correctly?
Players or the actual?
Well, I mean, like, how do you keep the staff bought? How do you keep everybody bought in when you're 1-4? I guess that's the better question. You're 1-4. You were putting out a message that we're all about winning. We're all about Will Levis, and those two seem to be very conflicting right now because Will Levis is one of the main reasons you're not winning. So how do you keep everybody bought into your vision and philosophy?
Well, let's first start off with that's not what they think in the building.
Okay.
See, so that's the outside noise. So that whether that's true or not, they don't believe in that.
Okay.
They don't think that, based off what Callahan has been saying, that to me, that I don't think they think that. And so
now, which part do you think they do not think it about?
Well, that they're losing games because it's Will Levis.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that the staff, starting with the head coach, believe that. Now, slowly but surely, eventually it will come to that. But I think you message the players in that, a mistake here or there. And this is a question I'm going to ask Coach Mack today is, usually there's 4 or 5 plays that determine a game if you win or lose.
Yeah.
And it's not always at the end of the game, but that's what everybody wants to look at. But it happens throughout the game. So I think that's what he's looking at. Hey, we aren't good enough to make these kind of mistakes. So we got to, not make as many mistakes as the other team. And hopefully then that leads to a victory. Or are they in mind as the season goes along, then we just don't know how to finish and to win games, to close out games. And are we even good enough? And so then that's when, to me, once they come to that realization, then the quarterback debate will become an issue. Because then they'll start searching to say, well, we need to try this. We need to try that. I mean, and it's always going to start with the quarterback. So nobody's going to blame if it's, Callahan, who's a first-time play caller and nobody likes to play calling, and he makes a couple bad calls here or there. What's his next step is he's going to hire a coordinator.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the play caller. He may still be making a play call. He's just going to say that he hired somebody else. So I think that's how you must not forget, in pro sports, which is different, you don't have to have a buy-in sale. The buy-in sale is you make millions of dollars. You want self-motivated individuals. If not, then how the heck are you here?
Yeah.
If I have to motivate you, then we got a whole nother problem here. We recruited or we brought in the wrong players. I want self-motivated, as I said before. If they're not self-motivated, then the dude next to you going to make sure you get to where you need to be. So that goes to leadership. So I think that's how you become a little fractured when you lose and then guys say, week 10 has kind of always been the area, regardless of what generation it is, on, okay, I have incentives in my contract. We are now losing. Guys start playing as individuals. And so then they're trying to accumulate. And then sometimes you'll watch. Sometimes coaches take people out. And you say, well, why did he take them out? Because he don't even want to give them incentives because they don't want to pay the extra money because we are a losing team.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to happen here, but you started hearing a little bit of the frustration, and that shows you that there is some frustration, at least from, my man Ridley, and it's maybe could be an individual case or his own frustrations with the questions he's been asked along the way. And then now this is the third time somebody's asked him something, and then he kind of gets a little feathery around the neck about, well, dang, they paying me eventually over 4 years, $92 million. I don't know how much he makes this year.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested to see, like, who is on the sell block. That's kind of, because with him saying that, then that means now there's going to be a conversation. At least that's how I would handle it. Some coaches just let it go and let it play itself out.
It seemed like Callahan yesterday said he was fine with that kind of comments. He's heard wide receivers make those kinds of comments. And listen, I will say this. It was very quick, but Calvin Ridley did say he sucked as well. So,
I know he took ownership. I think he caught himself, but he was frustrated. And what happens is when you lose all the big money people, all of a sudden you go, well, where were they? I didn't see a lot of interviews, and I'm sure there was. Where was Snead in these interview process?
Yeah.
Did anybody get the chance to interview him? So all guys are frustrated at this point because they lost and they thought, man, coming off a bye week, this is one we should get.
Yeah.
Everything is telling you on paper, everything. That's why I always say, man, in the division game and just in the NFL in general, you can't, even the worst team in the NFL based off of record can beat the best team. On any given day. So it's kind of one of those leagues that because somebody may slip, could have a lot of turnovers. There could be all kind of things that happen within a game that you can say, well, dang, how the heck did they beat them? Where are they at in the process with their quarterback? Because that's always going to be the exception to the rule at any level, really, even in college level. So I just think right now it's still a little bit early, but it could start, especially after these next 2 weeks.
Let me ask you a question, and maybe I'm just reading too much into things. I mean, fans often do. But I go back to when Tyler, obviously the frustrations from Calvin Ridley, but I go back to when Tyler Boyd said that after the pick six in Green Bay, it was just the energy was deflated over on the sidelines. You could just tell there was a shift.
Well, I think that's normal. Before you even move on, I think that's normal.
I agree. I would think that's normal. But then I'm watching this game, and I'm seeing passes, kind of are inaccurate, and maybe a pass didn't come their way or this and that. And I'm kind of seeing some body language that seems like shoulder slumping while they're still on the field coming back to the huddle.
It's always best to name names.
Well, I mean, it was really all of them. I mean, that's what has me concerned, because you mentioned something like when Calvin Ridley was talking about this, is that how he feels? But I wonder if that's how the room feels. That's my concern, is that maybe the room is slowly losing, I guess, patience. I'm going to say patience. I think maybe losing patience with the performance. Maybe it's their performance, right? Maybe that they felt that the ball came to me, I should have done this, and maybe they're getting slumped with their own performance. But it just felt like there was a little bit of it just feels when they get behind, Blaine, that they know. We have talked about that it feels like it's insurmountable. Once they hit 17 points, it's like it's really hard for them to get over 17. Or when another team gets ahead, like after the Michael Pittman thing, it feels like it's just insurmountable. And I wonder if that's starting to weigh on the individual players a little bit.
Well, if that's actually happening this early in the season, then we're in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty. I mean, we're already in serious trouble just based off the record and then not winning this last game. But frustration is, it's just always something. Mm-hmm. So with a receiver, the frustration is never just the quarterback, because it's always something involved with the offensive line, or if it was a tip ball, or dang, I didn't get my target. So it's kind of more of an individual position that relies on other positions to help them be successful. So it's not always, all they can do is finish when the ball is thrown to them. And catch it,
Yeah.
So that's their part, and then try to make something out of nothing. So I think, and you got veteran receivers there. We talking about Boyd, D-Hop, and Ridley, who's probably is he the youngest? Besides Burks is young.
Boyd may be a year or two younger than Ridley, I think.
So
But, I mean, they're very close. They're very close.
Well,
in
the
age.
pressure is different because of pay grade. You know, and that's why I always look at. That's why I always thought Pollard was. You were talking about the Spears, Pollard. Pollard, get out there.
Yeah,
because he's making the money, and obviously he is the more seasoned player. So that's why I said when we go to and start looking, when you're losing and you're at the point in your career, that's why I said there are older receivers besides Ridley. Then there's going to be conversations, and that's where I'm going to ask Coach Mack about. Okay, this is the last year of his contract. Boyd and D-Hop. Do we need to start selling because we're going to get value to stack, which Brinker said they want multiple picks, 8 or 9 every year. So when is that, rubber meets the road and they start saying it's time, this season is not going the direction we thought?
Yeah. I agree. And listen, we've had a few people ask us are they trading D-Hop? There's a lot of talk right now, and there will continue to be a lot of talk. I think that D-Hop is probably the guy that would be traded out of here first. Out of the 3 guys, I think Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry are also candidates. Mm-hmm. But I think that D-Hop is obviously with Kansas City needing a wide receiver, there's opportunities out there. The Ravens may be interested, which would send this whole town in a frenzy if D-Hop gets traded to the Ravens. But there are teams that need wide receivers, and I think that's why D-Hop is at the top of the list. Not saying that we have heard anything, but he is on the top of list. He's been on the top of NFL.com's list for a couple of weeks now. It's just a guy when you have when you have a known commodity like DeAndre Hopkins, who still can provide you a value to a team in Super Bowl contention that has a need at wide receiver, his name's going to be brought up all the time. And he's on the final year of his contract, so there you go. Yeah. When we come back, we'll be joined by Coach Mack. We'll talk more Tennessee Titans with him. He's brought to you by Two Rivers Ford. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey guys, this is Blaine for Edge Peptide Therapy. Listen, I've been hearing about peptides and peptide therapy now for a few months and was curious. So I finally went to Edge Peptide Therapy to find out more. And they did a full blood panel that showed where my body had some small deficiencies. And then they came up with a tailor-made plan to address those areas with peptides. And since I've started my peptide therapy now, I've full of energy and I've got a lot of focus, especially with all those tough questions Zach gives me. So recovery peptides are great for healing post-injury or surgery, or recovery from your workout, and a lot from my old days of playing, joint pain, aches and pains, arthritis, elbow, over-inflammation from old and new sports injuries. And recovery peptides also help out with all of this. So if you're looking for an alternative to surgery, consider talking to Edge first. And this month, Edge is offering $150 off your first peptide package for new clients. So why not get started now? Go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can just give them a call at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
It's Blaine and Zach, and on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, and it's 2:20 p.m., and you hear that music. That means that it's time for the Mac Attack with Coach Mac, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. And, of course, you can go to Mac Talk right after 3HL, right here on this station, to get more insight from Coach Mac right after 3HL. And, Mac, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. And, of course, Mac, the Titans are 1-4. And they just seem to be a team that just has trouble making the plays they need to when they need to. But what's the messaging like heading into games against opponents like the Bills and Lions back-to-back? Like, what is that messaging to the staff, to the players, when you're looking at this record right now? Oh, he hung up. I don't know what happened there. Maybe we just lost him or something, but there we go. Well,
he might have walked in the area at the facility
have.
where it doesn't get reception.
He must have. He's calling back in right now, okay, so I'll ask that question. I don't know how much he heard, but we'll get him back. Reed's getting him on the line right now. But I thought that was a pretty good question. I thought maybe I said something that I shouldn't have.
Oh, no, that was a great question. Great question. Coach Mac, where you at? You driving in your Two Rivers Ford?
All right. Coach Mac is back, Two Rivers Ford. Mac, how much of that did you hear of my question?
I heard none of it because I just dropped off and then Reed blamed Zach, so I don't know what that.
Well, Mac, the Titans are 1-4. And, you know, you heard Callahan talk about it. They just didn't make the plays they needed to make when they needed to make them. You know, what's the messaging like from Callahan to the staff and the players and all that kind of stuff heading into games against opponents like the Bills and Lions back-to-back when you are a 1-4 football team?
Yeah, you're worried about the Bills. I mean, that's what he's concerned with. You got to be concerned as a coach and as a squad with the next game. The one thing about Callahan has been, I mean, he has been very transparent in answering all the questions, and he's right. He got 3 ball games where they were in the fourth quarter and never could make a play to turn it in their favor. That's the truth. The truth is that, and the truth is also that they're 1-4. So all you can do is you can concentrate on the next ball game, go into it, and look at the things very diagnostically, what's going on as to what's keeping you from doing that. It may be the same thing. It may be different things. But you can't really worry about 2 games ahead. What you've got to be able to do is just gather the guys that you're going to have for this week, get them prepared, get a good game plan together, and then, guys, NFL games are made up of series of moments. A series of moments, and you don't know when they're going to happen, but if you make the plays on your team in that moment, probably you're going to have a chance to win it. If the other team makes it in that moment, then they're going to have a chance. We saw a great example of that in the fourth quarter to the 2 plays that Michael Pittman made, and here we are.
Yeah, it's true. You know, just all it can take is maybe 5 plays and sometimes. You know, from the side of the coach, people forget the human side of things that head coaches have to go through on the day-to-day. You know, how does the coach deal with the pressure, the emotions, the balancing act of keeping his players and staff confident and on task while also not losing faith in his own vision and abilities and his direction that he is currently taking the team? Because I'm sure that's got to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, you're fine.
When you reach this level of coaching in the National Football League, you're very aware of everything that comes with it. And the pressures of performance are number one. But also, you're very aware of what comes with it, is especially as you move up the ladder in leadership positions, you've got to remain steadfast, and you've got to be able to remain calm, and you've got to be able to remain very, very honest. And that's what has to happen. And you have to be honest with yourself, with your staff, and most importantly, you've got to be honest with the players, both in their evaluations as far as to what's going on with the game, and also with them as far as to what you need to do collectively. So it's nothing new. If you reach this level of coaching, you understand the pressures that come with it. Now, I mean, that's the life that all of us that have reached this level in this league of either coaching or playing, you know what that is. And so that's a given. And then how you handle it in the moment. I talked about moments in games, how you handle moments like this. is also very, very critical. But the main thing that I always found and that I learned early in my career as I moved up the ladder is you've got to be totally honest. And you've got to be totally honest with the way you deal with the media. You've got to be honest with the way you deal with your players. You've got to be very honest with the way you deal with your staff. And most importantly, you've got to be honest with the way you deal with your in the locker room and in the meeting rooms, and also after ball games that are disappointments. You cannot be up and down emotionally, because your team takes their cues from you, and so you've got to be steadfast.
We're on with Coach Mack, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Well, Coach, you just hit on that. There's every game, there's usually 4 or 5 plays in a game that determines who wins or loses. What were the 4 or 5 off the top of your head that you can recall that may have impacted the wins and losses? And not just always at the end, but I know sometimes, games are that way. But if you can recall, what do you think those plays were?
Well, I thought, first of all, I think just as a consensus, Blaine, it was the third downs. Third downs, especially for the defense. They let them convert. Yes. They got them in third down situations, and all you've got to do. You played defense for a long time in this league. 46%. They've done a nice job. They've done a nice job of keeping yardage down, but their third downs allowed. In ball games, it normally comes down to third downs. It comes down to explosive plays. I mean, that's extremely critical. And I thought the third down situations, both for the offense and for the defense in this ball game, were a big turning point on both sides of the ball, Blaine.
That makes a lot of sense. So speaking of that, explosive plays, we've kind of seen now Snead 2 games in a row with the bye week in between there. He's been beat deep. Naturally, how do you address, even if they caught it or overthrown or pass interference, how do you address that to a cornerback in an aggressive style defense, which, you're always going to be on an island most of the time when you're that outside corner?
Yeah, well, you just let him keep playing. I mean, because that's, again, this style of defense, and he's that type of corner. He signed up for that. Ever since he got in the league. And so you're going to get beat, but you got to just keep coming back. I will say this, the 2 plays that Michael Pittman made, he was all over him. Yeah. But Michael Pittman was able to make the catch, and he, so you just keep playing. I mean, I started my career out way back collegiately as a secondary coach. And the one thing that you can't do, you cannot take the aggression out of your players, especially if you are going, and they agree to, and you put them in situations of man-to-man defense. You've got to be able to take and accept the good with the bad with that. And so you let them keep playing. You let them know that you trust them. And when they start making those plays, and you're very, very happy with it. But if you getting beat at corner is there's a lot of different scenarios. If you just blow a coverage, that's different than just getting beat with a throw and a catch. So to me, I always did this, Blaine. You let them keep playing, and you keep encouraging their confidence. That's what I always did.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You talked about it a little bit here about the third down success that the Colts were having against the Titans. Man, I kept seeing downs, matched up, in mismatches. Let's just say that Murray was one time. And then to me, I felt like they should have doubled them. But I get, their outside receivers are doing well too. But we were playing man-to-man anyway. What did you see out there about why they were having success so much on third down?
Well, it was different things. I mean, to me, the one downs play against Murray, that was a zone defense where they didn't have anything over the top. All right, I mean that was a blown coverage. You had blown coverages. Now,
that was Brown.
The thing about downs is that, I mean, that is what his contributions have been ever since he came from North Carolina. There is in the slot, being able to make those 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 completions with those short drags across the middle. All right, and that's something that defensively, when you're looking at, as you go back and look at it, first of all, when you've got the matchups that you want in man-to-man, then you are expecting 2 things. Now, the ball from both quarterbacks came out very quickly in this ball game. But if you're man-to-man, you just got to tighten up, and you've got to be able to tailpipe that guy, especially on those 4 and 5 yard routes. across the middle that are just coming open. And then also a couple of those plays were out of that 9-ball stack where he was a third option coming out there, but the ball is coming out very quickly. So there was different ways, but going into that ball game, they knew that Downs was going to be somebody that they were going to go to. He may not have the biggest name, but he makes a big contribution, especially on third down, and he has been since he got there last year from North Carolina.
Yeah, one more thing that Tamara, sitting up in the booth, just watching the game, man. At this point of his career, based off all the quarterbacks that the Titans played this year, where would you rate Flacco, which was only 5 quarterbacks? Man, I was thoroughly impressed with some of his flick of the wrist and balls he was throwing. Some of them was even incomplete. But I was just like, whoa, man, he still looks like the Flacco of old.
Yeah, well, he and here's the thing that impressed me about him, Blaine, and it did when I was going into this game, when I was doing my research and looking at the game, that if he played, he's very, very calm in the pocket.
Uh-huh.
He is so calm in the pocket. I mean, he is very comfortable in the cylinder. He's still got enough wheels to run when he has to. He's always been a good athlete, but his veteran presence, I mean, his calmness in the pocket is a huge part of why he's been successful. And plus, he understands he's getting the ball out quickly, but he's getting it out quickly to advantageous places. I mean, he understands. I mean, just like this week, we're going up against Buffalo, and this will be Allen's 100th start as a quarterback in this league. You can't manufacture that experience, and that's what Flacco has.
No doubt about it. We're with Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack.
Coach Mack, how do you walk the tightrope between getting a player involved in the offense early without going against either what's working, like the run game or something like that, or works best against the defense that you're facing? Because obviously, you want to get the ball in your playmakers' hands, but sometimes it may not be what really is going to work.
Well, you just go ahead. You're trying to progress the ball, and any decision, I'm just going back to my coaching career, and any decision that I ever made going into a game or during a ball game was just to win the game. Was to win the ball game. Now you want to use, and you want to magnify your weapons, but it has to be at times that are appropriate in the ball game. And then, sometimes if you're trying to get it to your playmakers, and either they make a play or you don't make the play, you just got to do what you can do to try to win the football game. But you're always aware. Look, they're going to have all of these weapons that they have to have any success going forward. So I can just go back to what I did when I was coaching, and knowing that the prime thought in all of our minds going into the ball game was just, what do we have to do to win this football game? And then the rest of it falls into place.
I was listening to you guys, in studio, that's where I watched the game, and I'm listening to you and Mike Keith talk. And, the Colts defense, you kept talking about the dome. And I go back and watch the All-22, and they just had that intermediate deep range just all covered, all flooded with the defensive backs and players. That has been something they've done all season. So what about the Colts defense makes it tough for quarterbacks to complete passes in that intermediate deep range? And were you kind of surprised that they didn't really start putting people closer to the line of scrimmage against the Tennessee Titans rushing attack? It's like they were almost like, you can take the short stuff, we're preventing the intermediate to deep stuff.
Well, first of all, thank you for listening. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for listening, because we try to do a very professional job with it and take a lot of pride in what we do, and I appreciate all of our listeners. Look, that's been Gus Bradley's MO ever since he's been in the league. I know Gus very well. I said this going in our pregame. I said it on all the shows that I was on prior to that ball game. He's a four-down guy with three guys behind the ball, whether it be a nickel as the third guy, or it'd be a third linebacker, depending on what your personnel is. But he's always played a two shell, and it's not just two deep; it's also quarters, which is a two shell defense. But he's always been willing. He's a very patient defensive coordinator. He's always been willing to give up yardage and keep explosives from going over his head. Now, he did. Once they started they were running the football very, very well, and continued to, especially against that 6 and 7 man box. He started blitzing his nickel. And then he started firing one of those linebackers, either Speed or Zaire Alexander. He started flogging a gap. And when you flog a gap, it's not a blitz, but they're not sitting there reading the run. They're hitting their gap on the run, on the snap of the football to try to alleviate some of the run success that the Titans were having. But overall, that's always been his philosophy, and you know that going in. So it takes some patience on your part as a play caller offensively too, not to get frustrated with the fact that he is gonna put a dome over it over on the back end, and very seldom comes out of it.
You know, while the O-line wasn't perfect, they didn't allow a sack, and that's the first time that you can say that since October of 2021, that the Tennessee Titans offensive line hasn't allowed a sack on the quarterback. And even with a new right tackle with Leroy Watson, the offensive line played really well. They seemed very in sync. Is this the solid game that we've all been looking for from this offensive line to start building on as a unit and start gelling and putting out good games consistently?
Yeah, well, I think the head coach addressed. I mean, I thought his response, to how the new right tackle played, he was just okay. It wasn't like it was a dominant performance, but I think it had a lot to do with the structure of the offense, and plus this group has proven from early on, even with the struggles, real struggles against pass protection when it's 3rd and 7 plus, they have proven that they can run the ball. They know how to combo. They know how to duel. They know how to come up. They know how to pull with this power gap scheme. They've been a good offensive line, regardless of the right tackle, as far as running the football. Now, they weren't in a lot of those situations, and they kept themselves out of a lot of those situations as to where it would just stick your cleats in the ground. I mean, this game was in question, right to the end of the fourth quarter. So they never really gave them a chance to stick their cleats in the ground as a defense to just pin their ears back and rush. They had them in conflict situations. That's how they have to play. So I would say that they were playing to the strength of that thing. It still remains to be seen if we have to get into a drop back game, how much more extended time they can give the quarterback. But especially on that left side, guys, and really from the left side, even through Dylan Radins, I've seen a lot of improvement just with the continuity as this thing has gone on. And you heard the head coach say we still need to find a right tackle that can come in there and solidify it for a period of time. And he said it. He said Watson was okay. But, as you move forward, you're looking for better than okay. So I think that position in itself at the right tackle is still up for competition.
Well, Coach, before we let you go, I guess give us a little heads up on what to expect from Buffalo, especially with the addition of Amari Cooper, their wide receiver, and, how much he has left in the tank. I know he was a great route runner, but I haven't watched him this year. But kind of give us your take on Buffalo.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Buffalo, Blaine, the whole engine is Josh Allen. Josh Allen drives the whole engine, whether off schedule or on schedule, both running and throwing. That is number one. Defensively, they've always played with this coach, with this head coach. They've always played a very, very solid game. They don't give up very many big plays. But Josh Allen, you saw Josh Allen in that game last night, even though the officials inserted themselves way too much in that game last night with 22 accepted penalties. You saw Josh Allen at the end of the ball game. You saw even with the new, even as close as that game was, when it came time that they needed a third down, they put it in his hands to run it. So that's the dudes you got to be able to control first. And the running game is strong regardless of the back. Ray Davis came in there and did a tremendous job. So you've got to be able to control that. But don't ever make a mistake. As I said, this is Josh Allen's 100th start as a quarterback in the National Football League. He is the engine that drives that team.
Well, that's Coach Mack. He's with us for his weekly Mack Talk, brought to you by Two Rivers Ford, South's most trusted Ford dealer. And you can also listen to him every game, Titans Radio, and then, of course, Mack Talk tonight, right after 3HL, right here on 104.5 The Zone. Mack, we appreciate your time as always.
Guys, you know how much I appreciate you. See you.
Thanks.
See ya. When we come back, we'll close out the show talking a little bit more about the Tennessee Titans. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, Tennessee, fall is here and is in full swing, and Cool Ray's here to make sure your home is ready for all the fun and the fall season. And we've got some sizzling deals that will keep you comfortable and worry-free all season long. So ensure your family stays hydrated and healthy with free water quality testing, because nothing beats a refreshing drink of pure water on a nice fall day. So Cool Ray also offers a $149 main sewer line camera inspection. And right now, they also offer 15% off whole home dehumidifiers, as well as $500 off whole home generators. So let Cool Ray take care of your home so you can focus on making memories. So call us today at 615-709-8699. That's 709-8699, and take advantage of these scorching hot deals. Cool Ray, your trusted partner for a cool and comfortable Tennessee fall. All you have to do is visit coolray.com. Cool Ray, keeping Tennessee cool, plumbing right, and always lights bright.
Final segment here on Blaine and Zach, 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045, and of course the F&M Bank Chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. They're every day on the F&M Bank Chat, and I love it. But every day, it all devolves into just conversation about whether Shedeur Sanders wants to come here or not.
Oh, I kept seeing it. I was like, who said that?
Every day for like the last 2 weeks. And I love it because I'm just always interested. It's the same people having the same conversation.
Oh,
but I always think it's funny that, I mean, the Zone TV F&M Bank Chat is all about Shedeur Sanders and whether they're not even talking about Will Levis. They're not talking about the offensive line. They're not talking about Jarvis Brownlee Jr. They're talking about who is ahead of the Tennessee Titans in the standings in the draft pick order to make sure that the Tennessee Titans can get Shedeur Sanders. Will Shedeur Sanders even want to come here?
This is where we are at.
This is where the Tennessee Titans' performance this year through 5 games has led the fan base right now. And I love it. You know me, I'm always here for draft talk.
I'm hating it. It's just, it tells you that they have thrown in the white towel.
Here's a question for you. Brandon Scott in the F&M Bank Chat just wanted to ask Blaine, and he's asking you.
Uh-oh.
So don't try to turn it. I'll give you my answer after you answer. I'm making you answer first. Blaine, if you had to pick one player that the Titans trade, who would that be?
Well, the one that has the most value.
There you go. I love it. That's such a cop-out answer, but I love it.
Yeah, the reason why I say it that way, and I can pick a player, is I don't know I don't never understand how they come up with the value of the player. To me, it seems like that would probably be D-Hop. Simmons could have value, but he has a UCL injury, so I wouldn't be trading for him. Yeah. And then, even I don't understand this part of the salary cap, but it could really be actually traded in the first year. I'm just talking about people who have value. The reason why I use his name, because he has speed. You can't pay for speed. That's probably really it on any side. Is Hooker's contract up? See, you got to look at that.
Oh, yeah. So, there's another one I haven't even thought of, and he's playing at a really high level right now.
Right. So I just... It's the guys who bring value to trade. And some of them you want to keep dependent on age or dependent on their contract or when their contract is up. So I think that's why I put D-Hop first. I think he actually brings the most value. And receivers are more tradable to me. It's easier to see. I just wish he could go to the Chiefs. I'm just not sure if that's the guy. Rice was a speed guy. D-Hop's not a speed guy. He's a more route runner. So that's kind of Schuster there with the Chiefs. Yeah. But guess what? If Andy Reid wants you on the team, he wants your team. And if he likes D-Hop, he will make it work. So I think that would probably be your best bet, D-Hop to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm with you. I go DeAndre Hopkins. I will say that right now, anything you can trade Amani Hooker with and get major cap savings for the most part. Well, not major cap savings, but you're not going to have to eat a lot of dead cap.
Okay.
This is now the year where it starts.
So then both of your safeties will be up because Diggs is a 1 year.
Right.
So then you're losing both receivers.
So Amani Hooker's a sneaky good one to put out there. I haven't heard anybody float that one out there. Now, I'd be devastated because Amani Hooker's playing some of the best ball of his career, but that's sometimes how it rolls. I would go DeAndre Hopkins, and not only does it save you money, obviously, but I would also say that maybe it puts a little bit more pressure on Will Levis to go through his reads. Maybe DeAndre Hopkins is a little too much of a safety blanket, because I kind of talked about this with Josh Allen. I said, when I said one segment, I said I think that he may be MVP that he could be in the discussion for MVP. You're like, why? And I said, well, I think getting rid of Stephon Diggs is actually good for Josh Allen because he's going to have to spread the ball out. Sometimes you get locked in on a player at the detriment of the team.
Because he's barking his ear because he's gotten paid.
And I'm not saying DeAndre Hopkins is doing that.
No, I don't think he is. No.
And I think by his mentality and his demeanor, I think we can say that he's probably not in his ear. Calvin Ridley maybe, but DeAndre Hopkins is not. But I do think that there is a situation where maybe it's addition by subtraction for the progress of Will Levis to see what Will Levis is. Like, what is truly Will Levis without DeAndre Hopkins? And a lot of people would say, well, he's probably not much. Maybe he turns into something where he's being required to process things quicker instead of just saying, I can kind of go slow because I know my safety blanket's down there. Not saying that's happening, but that could be a possibility.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I think it's about personalities. I think that's why they're bringing Cooper into the Bills. He's not an in-your-ear type to the quarterback. And I'm sure.
Yeah, you didn't hear anything about Amari Cooper with the crap that he's been having to deal with
that's
Deshaun
not
Watson.
his style. Diggs is an emotional, give me the ball, T.O. guy. And sometimes that can wreck the quarterback, to your point, because now he's not going through his progression reads. He's just trying to throw to his high-priced, receiver. And that kind of messes up the mojo of what should really be happening when you got all the pieces out there and they say, hey, I'm going through my progressions, younger players or guys who are, disgruntled and me guys.
Yep.
They team guys, then that works out a lot better for the quarterback. And it's funny, C.J. Stroud, I love to hear people talk about his leadership skills because nobody's talked about that. We haven't heard a peep from Diggs. Not a peep.
Nope. So
was it him or was it the coaching staff when they brought him in, the head coach said, hey, this is how we're going to operate. If you want to play ball, this is what we do.
Yeah. I would say I lean a little bit more that's probably the coaches, but I also Stephon Diggs probably has heard everything that everybody's been saying. He's like, well, I'll at least give it 1 year before I start going back my own way. Maybe that's what he's
you can't change the dog to a mouse.
Maybe he's just, in timeout for just a little bit. But I will say this, Nico's gone. When Nico was there, Nico was the guy. And Stephon Diggs hasn't said anything. Of course, they're winning.
Yes.
And sometimes, like you have alluded to, winning cures all. And because in the times when they lost is when Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are blowing up. So we'll see with Nico's continued absence how that all plays out. We'll talk more Tennessee Volunteers tomorrow. We'll have Ben McKee on, and on Thursday we'll have Mike Herndon talk about the Tennessee Titans. 3HL is up next. I'm Zach. He's Blaine. This is Blaine and Zach, and in the meantime...
And in between time.
Peace.